Okay, with that, let me talk a little bit about Project Managers Without Borders. So, as Martin mentioned, I had the honor to be on the PMI board of directors for 6 years. And one of the great things I loved doing on the board was going out and talking about project management to chapters all over the world. And one of the chapters I got to visit was the Amazonias chapter in Manaus, Brazil. So that's right in the middle of the Amazon jungle. Quite an experience, and very grateful to have the experience. When I was there and gave my speech, then at the reception afterwards, a couple of young women came up to me and said, Peter, how can we use our project management skills to help save the Amazon rainforest? I didn't have an answer for it. What a great cause, what a great thing to do. But how can we do that? How can we use our project management skills for social good? So there wasn't an answer. When I came back and we were at a board meeting, I was talking with my good friend Deanna Landers, and she too had similar experiences, but she did something about it. She founded Project Managers Without Borders about 10 years ago with the idea of allowing project managers to volunteer as project managers to help support not-for-profit organizations. We had realized as we were thinking about this that not-for-profits face many challenges, not least of which they need to launch new products and services just like the for-profit sector. They need to implement their strategy to support their mission, just like the for-profit. And they need to continuously improve their efficiency, not only to make them a more effective organization, but in many cases, not-for-profits, donors are concerned about money going to overhead and not to the cost. So they needed to do that. So we thought, perfect, project management does all of that. So we started, Deanna started, and I joined her very early on to work with PMWB. Now, as we started, we came up with these 6 tenets of how we would work with our partners, the not-for-profits that we have. First, we didn't want to put volunteers in harm's way. We want people to stay out of the middle of hurricanes when they go through, or tornadoes, or war, or whatever else. And luckily, with virtual technology now, this is a lot easier to do that. But that was one tenet that we had. Second, we don't want to take away anyone's job. We want to work with not-profits that are small, that really can't afford to hire a project manager, at least right now. Hopefully, after they see what project managers can do, they will be hiring them. I should mention April is a PMP. They will be hiring them, but initially they can't afford to. So we want to help them out, give them that leg up so they can be successful. They can achieve their strategy, and as I talked about in the previous slide. Third point we have here, that all projects need to have local involvement for both culture and language knowledge. Now, in spite of our name and what would be implied without borders, that we get to travel all over the world, the reality that we found is the best approach is to have local project managers support local not-for-profits in their community. They know the culture, they know the language, they know how things get done. And more often than not, the local project manager may feel a certain affinity, if not a strong passion, for the work of the not-for-profit. So we really feel that the local element is so important. So most of our projects are that way. Now, certainly what we offer with Project Managers Without Borders is the ability to have a network of project managers who are doing similar things. So our project managers who will help out not-for-profits can reach out to other project managers doing the same thing and share experiences, get coaching and mentoring ideas to handle certain situations. We support not-for-profits for social good, as I mentioned earlier. So we're going to focus on that based on the UN Sustainability Development Goals. We speak our partners' language. And as project managers, we know this. We can't go in speaking our project management lingo. No one will understand. We have to speak our customers' language So we do the same thing. We have to speak the language of the not-for-profit, and we'll talk a little bit more about this a bit later on. And finally, we do not engage in disaster response or recovery. Much longer talk, I'll keep this brief. We do support not-for-profits for preparing for disasters or in the reconstruction afterwards, but going through the response and as what's happening around April as we talk, restoring power, getting the streets back working, that's all execution. Very limited use for project managers. We just will get in the way. As I mentioned, Deanna founded PMWB about 10 years ago, and in January of this year, we became very happily part of the PMI family. In the last 10 years, we've engaged over 750 stakeholders and 70 projects, impacting people in 170 countries around the world. And what we're excited about being in the PMI family now is we can use the PMI chapter community as a way to accelerate the work that we do. Again, having chapters in locally with local project managers. So some of the projects we've done, and you've seen some of the pictures as we've gone through. So we've done some water irrigation projects. You can see the picture in Ecuador where we did one. We saw a picture in Puerto Rico where we helped getting portable water going out through cisterns, unique approach. We've done some work with road safety, including a presentation I did with Thea, the project manager in Dominican Republic, 6 hours ago for that. And the next one coming up, which will be in about 7 hours, 6 hours, I guess it is, we'll be talking about a healthcare project that we did at helping ship equipment from the United States to Tanzania to help put equipment in a new hospital. So a whole different variety of projects, and including, as we'll talk shortly about one that's a little bit different, which we're doing with future problem solving. So with that, I think I've talked enough about what PMWB is. I'm now going to turn over to April to share with us a bit about future problem solving and the project that PMWB is doing with her organization.
Thank you, Peter. Future problem solving was developed in 1974, and our motto is here on the screen, teaching kids how to think, not what to think. Some of the great projects that Peter mentioned that he's worked on are things that our future leaders will also be working on. Our future leaders are students today in classrooms and in educational arenas, and it's our jobs to ensure that they have the skills to tackle tomorrow, no matter what their tomorrow might be or where they might be in the world. So it is truly our goal to provide the students with the skills that they need so they know how to think. We were founded by Dr. E. Paul Torrance. Dr. E. Paul Torrance is known globally, informally, as the father of creativity. If you have ever participated in a creativity test, it most likely was a test designed by Dr. E. Paul Torrance and the most widely used Torrance test for creative thinking. The instruments that measure creativity look at four main aspects: fluency, the number of ideas you're able to generate; flexibility, are you able to think about a variety of different things related to solving a problem? Do you look at the finances? Do you look at social relationships? Do you look at the environment? Because as project managers, we all know that it's very important to look at all sides, making sure we are analyzing all the different risks that might be there and all the different possible solutions. So he based our program that we've been offering now for 50 years on the creative problem solving process. And this process was originally developed by Osborne and Parnes, and they used this process originally with businesses. And Dr. Torrance thought, if it works for business and we are teaching students to be ready for the future, why not go ahead and teach it to students and have them start thinking about their future and the kinds of things that they would encounter as they became in careers and in the workforce. So we have a lot of goals within our organization. And the first four there are the four C's. things that we use in our careers, things that we look for in potential employees or staff members, making sure that you can collaborate by working with each other and communicate while using critical and creative thinking. If you've read reports from the World Economic Forum, the Future of Jobs reports, if you've looked at PISA tests, if you've looked at any of the educational goals around the globe, you'll see many of these things not only studied by the students in our program, but as in the forefront of what we feel is valued for students for tomorrow. So, our program uses a great balance, and I like this illustration because I think it shows how important using both critical thinking and creative thinking go hand in hand and balance when you're looking to solve a problem. So, anytime we're faced with a problem, we certainly want to think creatively. And creative thinking means that we have novel ideas, or maybe we see an idea and we hitchhike or piggyback and come up with a new or unique idea for a different situation. And lots of times, kids are innately really great at this. They're able to think of lots of different variety of ideas. If you asked a child what kind of birthday party they should have or where they should go for a holiday, you'll likely get a really long list of ideas or possible solutions. They're good at that. But when we are solving a problem, we also have to apply the critical thinking. And that's the analytical thought. That's making those selections, that's making a choice. And that's something that requires a bit of practice, using some tools to help understand what should you look for when you're trying to solve a problem. How do you make those tough choices? How do you balance all those really fun, great ideas to come up with a viable end solution or winning solution? So that's why we feel it's very important to have both the creative and the critical thinking going hand in hand when working to solve problems. So, what does future problem solving actually do for students? What does it teach them? We teach our students a six-step process, and we use this process with a wide variety of current events, futuristic things that will likely happen in students' lives, things like water supply, things like air quality, drones, e-waste, all the problems that we're facing as adults, our students are also seeing and hearing on their news feeds, on their social medias. So we feel by providing them with this six-step process, they have a set of tools in their toolkit ready in their back pocket, if you will, so that when they're faced with a challenge, they actually know what to do. So, after the students research and analyze a situation, they move into our first step. And our first step is to identify challenges. What are all of the things that could possibly need to be looked at as a possible challenge? So, if our students are studying air quality, for instance, they might study factories promoting air quality. They might study environmental things like natural disasters and volcanoes that might impact air quality. So they look at all of the possible challenges. Then they move into the second step, which is a critical thinking step, and they have to analyze all those creative challenges to select one of high importance, as we can't solve all the challenges related to everything we're looking at, but we could look at a smaller subset, see which one might impact stakeholders the most, and take a smaller portion of the big problem to focus on. So, those are the things that we teach our students to narrow that down, to analyze it, and to choose a manageable part of the problem to solve. After the students have done that, they move back out into creative thinking and they come up with a bunch of solution ideas that are thought provoking, creative, addressing a variety of situations and going in a lot of different creative directions. So, after they have come up with all of their solution ideas, they then have to narrow those down again. They have to analyze and select their best solution. And they do that through steps 4 and 5 together. In those steps, the students actually write the criteria themselves, and then they apply that criteria to measure and rank those winning solutions against each other. When they have determined their top solution, the winning solution, they then work together to develop an action plan. They include a timeline, they include who might assist them with their plan, they might include who might resist their plan and steps they will work on to overcome those resistors in their plan. And essentially, they sell their plan through their writing. They pitch their plan as to why they feel that their creative plan would actually solve a problem in the future. So that's a very brief recap of our year long offerings to students. The students in our programs are in grades 4th through 12th grade. They participate in their local areas, and then we convene every June about 2,000 participants for our highest level of competition, our world finals at our international conference. So, thank you for allowing me to provide some background about our specific not for profit.
Thank you, April. That was very good and very enlightening. And to mention, it sort of implied future problem solving is all over the world, it's global
Yes.
in nature. Okay, one of the things that we've learned at PMWB is that working with non-for-profits has some challenges and some similarities with working for-profit organizations. So one of the big differences is not-for-profits focus on their cause. They really are driven by the mission of the not-for-profit. Over and above, they're not concerned about maximizing financial returns. Yes, they are concerned about getting money in, but it's all purpose driven. They're really focused on their purpose, and to the point where in some cases they'll start on projects before they know they have all the money, just figuring the money will come. And most times it does, in fact. So that's one thing that's very unique, is this idea of purpose driven. Second is the focus on raising money. Right. So there's a variety of sources of where to raise money. So they can be having donors, they can run events, they can get grants, comes from different places. And often, so one thing is we have to get the money coming in from these different sources, but often when money does come in, it comes in with constraints. Right? Donors will want the money seen in certain ways, or to get a grant, it has to be done and get certain things. So this can lead for changes in directions for projects. It can lead to direction for change in strategy, even, and can lead to constraints of things that must be done for a project because it's a requirement of the grant or requirement of the donor. Also, many times the clients or beneficiaries of the not-for-profits have special needs or require special care. Many of them are in the health field where they have special requirements that have to be accommodated and have to be focused on. And in some cases, cannot be ignored because that's part of the purpose driven, is to deal with people with these specific situations. And finally, not-for-profits use volunteers. That's really the engine that makes many not-for-profits work, is their volunteers. Now, I've had a lot of experience with PMI, it's been mentioned, and I've been working as a volunteer at PMI. I've been leading volunteers, and volunteers are wonderful. They bring so much energy and enthusiasm, but they also come with some challenges as well, right? Especially around time commitment, because they have their family and their daytime job as well, which quite correctly take priority. So these are some of the things as we work with not-for-profits, we have to realize that can really make things change. Our budgets can change, the timeline can change as we go along. And of course, you get overwhelmed with the passion that these not-for-profits have. But as I mentioned, there are similarities. Right? In cases, same as for profit organizations, Not-for-profits need to deliver value to their customers, to their beneficiaries, to their donors. So they're going to be focused on value, and they don't want waste. As I mentioned earlier, donors don't like their money going to pay for overheads. They want it to go to the mission. So they want to eliminate waste, just like many organizations do as well, maybe albeit for raising profits. So having talked about this, April, let's go back to you and tell us a little bit about the project that PMWB is doing with future problem solving and how you see some of these challenges applying to future problem solving.
First, I will just piggyback on your note about volunteers and how much we rely on them. We absolutely do. And PMWB is just one of the really impactful volunteer situations that our organization has. And we're very appreciative of that. So I do want to make sure that I thank you and Deanna for this wonderful organization that is already starting to shape some change that we've needed to make for our organization specifically. So last year, in early 2024, the Board of Trustees approved our new strategic plan. And the plan was very robust. The educational landscape is changing. And as an organization that's been around 50 years and also looking forward to the future, we needed to make sure we were ready for that. So you'll see our strategic plan pillars to the right of the slide. We wanted to be future proof. We wanted to be ready for the future, right? And then future ready so that we are empowered to provide the students with what they need, and then future forward, making sure we're even projecting beyond the here and now. And the first task whenever a new strategic plan is developed is to implement the plan, and not only to implement the plan but to show how we're going to measure the plan, how we're going to provide statements of impact to our board, to our stakeholders, with some data to ensure then that we are doing the work that we've been tasked to do. So there, that is the basis of the project. We have two project managers working with us. We have a lead project manager, Stephanie, and then we also have a project manager, Mega, who have been working with us specifically to develop a performance scorecard for that implementation of our strategic plan. So, some of the things specific to our organization is that we do have limited resources, and our resources are limited in several different ways. We're very limited with the amount of staff we have as a nonprofit, and the other resource that's a limiting factor of finances. Oftentimes, our staff wears many hats, and throughout the day, we do lots of different roles to meet our mission. So, Project Managers Without Borders has really given us some additional resources that we didn't have on our current staff to help us really accelerate that implementation of our strategic plan. Their expertise also brought some of the limited resources we have of that skill set with project managers. Peter did mention that I am PMP certified, but as the executive director and holding the PMP certification, it is very difficult to wear both of those hats at the same time. So Stephanie and Mega have really almost become part of our external team, if you will, to help us achieve these goals that we need to communicate how we are progressing. Not only are they working specifically for the goal of the strategic plan, but they are helping us infuse project management into our daily work. This has really given our team some momentum. We needed great examples of how project management tools and templates can really aid in our work. And they've already done that with the work that they've started to do, showing us that by developing different aspects of project management, while it does take time to do that, is really going to save us time in the long run. It's going to improve our efficiency and really aid in a lot of transparency of our communication. and then also how we can use project management um, tools in our day to day jobs beyond just the project they are working on. We have a lot of different projects in our organization. They have a lot of different approaches throughout the year. Some other ways that we hope that project management will begin to make a huge impact on our organization is through improvement of our operations. These are the day to day things that we do, whether it's determining which conference app to select for next year's event, or should we keep our data on a hard server or should we move to the cloud, right? All of these things require aspects of project management to help us. Grant writing and reporting, certainly very beneficial for different approaches, making sure we have our milestones listed in the grant writing so that we're clearly achieving everything that the donors have required of us. Our events, I mentioned that we have 2,000 participants come to a college campus every June for the highest level of competition. A lot of project management tools are needed for that event. And then fundraising to help us with that ever growing need for those resources, especially those monetary ones, whether it be our Giving Tuesday campaign or our year end campaign, making sure that we have all of our outlines and charters and different tools ready so we actually know which member of our staff is ready to tackle the all important things that need to be done.
Thank you, April. That's great. So now we're just going to talk a little bit about the impact. So the B, as we think about the impact that we can provide to the world to help elevate the world, it really falls under four dimensions. So the first is to the partner, to organizations like Future Problem Solving, where we can help them achieve their objectives, deliver value to their beneficiaries, to the in the case of the students, and improve the productivity, the efficiency of the organization. And April will talk a little bit more about that, or she already has and talked a little bit more about that as well. Next is to the beneficiaries. So one is for the beneficiaries to get more services, to be able to have more richer experiences with the partner organization, with the not-for-profit, to improve the services from the not-for-profit, and ultimately adding more value to their experience, which makes the non-for-profit being able to achieve its mission and achieve its purpose. Okay, so those are fairly straightforward. The other side of things that we can do is to help to have an impact on the volunteers. So in this case, Stephanie and Mega, who are helping out in future problem solving. They can learn new skills or have a chance to apply skills that they may have learned about, but haven't actually applied in practice yet. So they can become better project managers. It gives them an opportunity to give back to the profession. Those two young women in Manaus were asking me so many years ago to be able to give back as project managers. And when talking to our volunteers who have served as project managers, they get a lot of personal satisfaction. In many cases, they're volunteering for organizations that they're passionate about, or when they start volunteering for the organization, they get passionate about it and they have that satisfaction they've made a difference in the world. They've helped to elevate the not for profit that has helped elevate the people that they serve. They made a difference. And lastly, not lost on us, and one of the reasons why we're thrilled to be part of the PMI family is that this type of work will increase the awareness of the project management profession. People who will never have been experienced in project management or think about it, whether they be the staff of the partner organizations or the beneficiaries, will suddenly start hearing about project management, seeing about project management, seeing how a professional project manager can use the tools to help get work done, help things get done and make a difference. So that becomes good for the profession in that we can start attracting more people to become project managers. Also, as we get our project managers who may be leaving the profession because they want to retire or because their job has moved on, but they still have some time to get back as project managers. It will help us retain the members in our community and use them as role models for people coming into the community to help and coach and mentor. And one of the things that we've done with some of our recent projects, including the one with future problem solving, is we've paired up a experienced project manager with a new project manager, someone who's new to the profession. So the senior project manager will do some coaching and mentoring of the new project manager who can get some experience in the profession and hopefully stay with the project management profession. And as I mentioned earlier, with the awareness also comes showing the benefits of project management as a profession. And as I said earlier, that maybe at some time down the road, the not-for-profit will actually start hiring project managers or hiring people with project management skills because they've seen the value of it and know that these people will help make the organization better and more effective. I know, April, you're still in the middle of your project, so you haven't
Yes.
experienced all the impacts yet, but maybe you can share some of them and some of your lessons that you've learned so far.
Sure. And just to extend on the last slide that you shared, Peter, you mentioned, that it would give our organization a view of how important project management is and perhaps hire project managers. But another benefit that we've seen is several of our staff have already started their training to become hopefully certified as new PMPs themselves. Even internally within our organization, we have some key staff who are seeing the benefits and really working on their own professional development. So I think that could be maybe something you could also add to that slide as a unintended impact. Some of the impacts we're seeing, we are fairly new and are fairly early in our timeline in our work. But some of the impacts that we're already seeing is increasing awareness on the status of the strategic plan implementation. I feel better equipped to share with our strategic advisory group that are several members of our board of trustees where we are in the process, the steps that we are looking at and working to uncover as to what the dashboard scorecard should look like for our strategic plan. And then also using some of the project management artifacts. We spent quite a bit of time on our charter. When we originally embarked on the project, our charter was very broad. And as we got together as a group, we started talking about the other different aspects to the charter, and we adapted our charter and we really made it our own, ensuring that everything was very clear to those of us who would be working on it. We also spent a lot of time on a RACI chart showing the various roles of our team. We still have some determinations to do, but we have a really nice plan in place and a really good template started for both of these artifacts. So I just thought I would share some lessons learned um, in a not-for-profit view, right? We started off earlier talking about those limited resources. That is real. If you are working with a not-for-profit, that's real. So when we learned that we were selected for Project Managers Without Borders, I admit I was very excited and wanted to jump right in. And I think our project managers were very excited also. In retrospect, we did need to spend a little bit more time for discovery. So, if you are embarking on a project similar to ours, I do really encourage you to take that time for discovery. And that discovery is twofold, it's learning about our specific or the not for profit you're working with, their operations, not just their mission statement, not just the main overarching things in their annual report or public facing website, but really the operations and just having that informal discussion to get those discovery items there. And then also learning about not for profits themselves. So, one of our project managers worked in the corporate world and in the business world and didn't have that experience with not for profits, didn't understand those limitations. So that was something that was very important for discovery. My overall lesson learned is not to jump right in. If you've ever participated in the Tower Game Challenge, like this young man at our conference last year, you firsthand experienced why it's important to have a plan and to get a scope ready before jumping right in.
Thank you, April. So let's move right into our wrap up.
Sure. So, in summary, the big plus sign there is in the middle because both of those aspects are working together. So, for us, we are getting access to experienced project managers to help us achieve our goals, expanding our resources. And coupled with that, we are learning some project management tools, techniques, and processes, not for solely the project we're working on with the project managers without borders, but things that will transfer to other projects once this one is over.
Perfect. Thank you so much, April.